Hello everybody, this is David and this is part 3 of installing a CasaTunes system. In this video we're going to look at using room groups as a way of streamlining control of multiple rooms. So just as a refresher, this is the installation that we're talking about. We have a CT+2 with a CasaTunes 6x6 matrix amplifier, and we have 6 rooms. The kitchen, dining, guest room, master bedroom, master bath, and living room. So first of all, what is a room group? Well, a CasaTunes room group allows you to control multiple rooms as if it was just another room. And the room group is actually displayed in the app just like any other room. When you power on a room group, CasaTunes will power all the rooms that make up that group. And when you power on a room group or you switch the source for a powered on room group, CasaTunes will switch the source for all the rooms in the group to the same source. Now each room within the room group can have a different volume, and when you change the volume for a room group, CasaTunes changes the volume for all the rooms by the same amount while still maintaining the volume difference between the rooms. We'll see that in action later on. Now you can temporarily override the deltas between the rooms in a room group, but each time you power on the room group, the original volume deltas for each room are restored. So when should you use room groups? There are really 2 common use cases. The first case is for large rooms or areas that require multiple zones. These could be large rooms, open plan areas. For example, you could have a kitchen, dining room, and living room, and you want to basically control all the areas as one because you don't want to play different music in different areas when it's an open plan area. Outdoor areas is another example where you may have a pool in a yard, and we recommend that you actually have more smaller speakers around the yard for background music rather than having, maybe 1 or 2 pairs of speakers and just blaring them really, really loud. And then also, one thing that's nice about the CasaTunes room groups is when you create a room group, let's say for an open plan area like a kitchen, dining room, and living room, when that area is always going to be used, when you're going to always use the room group for that area, you can actually go ahead and then delete the kitchen, or not delete, but you can hide the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room, so the customer only sees, the main living area as the name of the room group, and then doesn't see the individual rooms, and that makes it easier for them to control the room in all 3 areas. And then the second common use case is for implementing multi-room scenes. So for example, you could have a party scene. So even in a case where let's say the dining room, living room, and the kitchen are not open plan, like in our scenario over here, you want to create a party room group that consists of all those rooms, so that when your friends are navigating between the areas, they hear consistent music across the whole house. And another example would be like a nighttime scene. So when you come home at night, you may want to play background music in certain areas within the house, and that's another good reason. That's another good use of creating a room group. And so in our example here, we're going to create a party room group, and it's going to include the kitchen, dining room, and the living room. So how do you create a room group? Okay, so the best way to create a room group is, first of all, we just go ahead and power off all the rooms. Then we power all the rooms that will be part of the room group, and we configure the volume settings for each room just exactly the way we want it. And then in the CasaTunesX app, we either navigate to the rooms view, or we navigate to the settings, system setup, rooms group, and then we select add group. And when you create a room group using the CasaTunesX app, CasaTunes will then automatically record or initialize the room group with all the powered rooms and their volumes. So it's a quick way to record the room group the way that you want it with the volume levels that you want. And then you can further configure the room group settings in the CasaTunesX app. So so let's go and see how we do that in the CasaTunesX app. So I'm going to go ahead and use the CasaTunesX app over here, and we're running the CasaTunesX app in the browser, and this picks up from where we were in our last in part two. So we're on Jack and Jill home, and we've got their house over here. And as I mentioned, we're going to create a party room group, and it's going to consist of the dining room, the kitchen, and the living room. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead in each of these rooms and we'll set the volumes the way we want them. So we'll set the dining room at 50, for example. We'll set the kitchen at 39, and we'll set the living room at 61. Okay, and now we can just go ahead and add a room group here, or we can go to Menu, Settings, System Setup, Room Groups here. So either way we can add it, but we'll just go back to the rooms view and add it there. Okay, so let's go ahead. So we go ahead and add the room group. It basically explains what I just went through, so we'll go ahead and add the room group. And you can see here that it automatically creates the room group, so it's recorded our settings. And so it gives the room group name is basically a combination of the rooms. But it also shows below here in blue what rooms consist of the room group. Now we're going to go ahead and edit we're going to edit this room group. So let's go into the properties for this room group, and we're going to go ahead and change the room group name. We're going to change this to party, and we'll go ahead and add a room group picture. Nothing better than a drink for a party. And you can see some of the other properties here. So for example, you could enable the turn on volume. This room group will also appear as an AirPlay speaker. So you can just go ahead and from your iPhone, you can actually stream directly to this room, as it will also show up as a Spotify Connect speaker. Okay, and then it shows you what rooms make up the rooms, the group, and it's the kitchen, dining room, and living room. And if we actually go in and see those details, we'll see that the rooms has been created. And what you'll notice is that when it created the room group, it's basically averages out the different volumes. So you can see here the dining room, which was at 40, was kind of like in the middle. These are a little bit off because the volume range on the matrix amplifier is not from 0 to 100. It's actually like 0 to 38. So we have to round it we have to convert it from 0 to 38 range to 0 to 100 range, and there's some rounding errors, and so that's why you see these are slightly off. But this would typically, in this case, because we had a dining room was at 40, we had the kitchen at, the dining room was at 50, the kitchen was at 40, and the living room was at 60. So you can see these offsets here. So we'll just tidy up the offsets a little bit. But so you can see here that the kitchen is going to be 10 less than the dining room, and the living room is going to be 10 more than the dining room. And if you want to add additional zones, you can obviously just do that manually. I mean, you can edit these manually, obviously. So now that we've set up our party mode room group, if we go back to the UI, you'll see now that we've added our room gets added as if it's just another room, so it's called party over here. And let's go ahead and turn off all those 3 rooms. So now when we turn on the party room group, you'll see that those 3 rooms, the dining room, kitchen, and living room, get turned on. And if we go in and see the now playing information for the party, you'll see that the volume room group now is, this is kind of like the master volume for the room group. So as we're changing this up and down, we're actually changing the volume in all those rooms. So like for example, if we go to 40 over here, you see this double speaker over here. So this is the group volume. So if we look at the group volume, you can see that the kitchen is essentially 30, the dining room is 40, and the living room is 50. So it's preserved the volume differences. Again, it's got that conversion issue, going from 0-38 range to 0 to 100, so it's slightly off. But you can see that it's in general it's preserving the differences in the volume levels as we change the volume. So the other thing to notice is that when I look at the group volume, so when I change the volume using the room group volume, this is like the master volume for the room group. So this is changing the volume for all the rooms. So again, just go back over here. Takes a little bit of time to update, but you can see here that the kitchen, which is 10 less than the dining room, and the living room is 10 more than the dining room. So it's changing all three at once. But the other thing that you can do, okay, is you can actually go ahead and change the individual volume. So if in your room group here you don't like the volume in the dining room being high, you can turn it down. Now the thing to remember though is that it's changed the volume in the dining room to 50. However, if we power off the room group and then power it back on again, you'll notice that the volumes will get reset. Okay, so it's back to what it was when we created the room group. And so if you want to permanently change the volume deltas, you have to go back and edit the room group and change them and then save it. Okay, but in our case, we just wanted to change it temporarily. So that's an overview of room groups. They're really easy to do. The other thing just to keep in mind is that you can actually hide the rooms that are part of the room group. So for example, if we go into settings over here and we go into system setup and we go into rooms, and let's say that we want to hide the kitchen. So all we have to do is disable displaying the room and then go back to our rooms view, and you can see that the kitchen is no longer there. Okay. However, if we go into the party room group and we go to the group volume, you see you can still change the volume for the kitchen even though that kitchen has been hidden. So again, if this was a room group of all the open area items, but you didn't want the customer to have to see all the individual open area items, you can hide them, but they can still change the individual areas within the room group if they needed to do that. And also this group volume that you're seeing here, that is configurable, so you can actually hide that if you don't want the customer to see that at all. So again, if you go into settings and you go into app settings, you can hide the group volume option. So when you hide that and then you go back, it no longer appears and you can't change the individual volume levels for rooms that are part of the room group. Okay, and that's a quick overview of room groups. Appreciate your time, and we look forward to you incorporating some of this functionality in your CasaTunes installs. Thank you very much.